It's time for Peptide Talk, featuring Garrett Pope. Now, here is your host, Joe Zapata.
What's up, guys? Joe Zapata here. Another week of Peptide Talk. And before we get started, guys, if you can, just go to equipfoods.com, use promo code JerseyJZ, and get 15% off your order. Again, go to equipfoods.com, promo code JerseyJZ, and get 15% off your order. They actually have some new, it's called like banana cream protein that just came out. It's dropped today. So if you guys can pick that up, it's brand new. I'm getting a case of it in from the company. They're going to be sending it to me. So I just have a picture of it. It's new banana cream protein. It's really good. So you guys got to check that out. All right, Garrett, it's me and you here. We're going to talk a little bit about some stuff. Let's talk first about Branch Warren. He actually came out and had something posted on social media. And I believe actually this is really true what he said. He said the bodybuilders from his era learned from the bodybuilding of the 90s, but today's generation learns from basically social media. And I think he's 100% true because nobody really listens to the old school stuff anymore. They just listen to what all these influencers have to say. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. In our, when we were growing up, what did we get our knowledge from? The magazines, Pumping Iron, all that stuff. Okay. You watched the videos of the pros. You read the magazines. You followed the pros. What they did. Now, did they always tell the truth what they did? Of course not. And you look back at some of the workouts, and I remember some workouts that would be printed in magazines. 4 sets of leg press, 4 sets of leg extensions, 4 sets of squats, 4 sets of hack. I mean, they would do 40 sets for quads and 30 sets for half. I mean, you knew they weren't really doing that, But nowadays, with all the social media bullshit, and half these people on social media don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay,
yeah. And they look like shit. And they look like shit. And
they look like shit. I mean, you know what I love? You've got people on social media. The reason why you have small biceps is because of this. They have small biceps themselves.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there going, you can't make that statement, okay? That's like somebody with chicken shit calves saying, the reason why your calves suck. Well, if that's the reason, then why don't you apply it yourself? I love all these people saying these things, but they're lacking it themselves. And if you call them out on it, which you see in the comments, somebody saying, well, you don't practice what you preach. Then they turn around and go, well, I have bad genetics for biceps. I have bad genetics for calves. Well, hold on. You just said a minute ago, the reason why that body part sucks is because of this. You're not doing this right. So, and that's what people all over social media, do, now. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay.
Yep.
And everybody's got their opinion. I've said it before. You got to do what works well for you. What
100%.
works well for you might not work well for me. What works, you don't know everybody's limitations either, whether it be a back injury, whether, we'll use you, for example, like you said, with the hip replacement. No, you're going to have different limitations than I'm going to have. You know what I'm saying? Right there, in itself. Or if somebody has, I know somebody who I used to train who had to have their ankle fused together from an accident, okay? Let me tell you something. They're never going to have the ankle mobility that I will be able to have in a squatting position ever again. It's not possible. So do what works for you. And the social media influencers out there, and the trust the science. The science says this. The science also said to get the COVID shot. You notice how I always sneak in the COVID shot? I always make sure I sneak that in there. But the science said that also. So with all due honesty, I don't want to hear about the science. I want to hear about you just applying the work, okay? And too many of these people that look like garbage telling other people what to do, then why aren't you doing it?
It's very hard for me to take advice from a 22-year-old who's had hair on his balls for maybe a year saying, oh, do this, do that. You're like, come on. We've been doing this a long time, since 15, 16 years old, and even at 53, I'm still learning stuff. So it's like, I'm not going to believe what a 22-year-old who has hair on his nuts a year about shit like this.
Absolutely. I'll give you another one. And I can say this. I know a lot of people follow, and a lot of people bow down and suck his nuts, okay? That he's the end all. But I used to work with a particular person that goes by the initials of HC. We've talked about this before. That's not his real name, but he uses that moniker online. He's HC. You know what? I don't really care because I never liked him. His name, Hypertrophy Coach.
Okay.
You know who that is?
Yes, I do.
I worked with him. Okay. I remember when he came out of the University of Florida at 22 years old and got his first training job at a big box gym, and I was there already, and he came in like a little twig. Okay. Came in like a little twig. 5'10", 100 and I don't know, 75 pounds, 180 pounds at the time. Okay. He worked out, but that was it. Okay. Then all of a sudden, about 5 years later, when he decided I'm going to get into bodybuilding and I'm going to compete and I'm going to this and that, and he got the right connections and all this, he blew up. I mean, blew up. And he went to the national level and this and that, and he looked amazing. Now, all of a sudden, what happened to you? He looks like the scrawny 22-year-old again, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He lost everything. He looks like a 22 scrawny, and he calls himself Mr. Dad Bod and this and that and all this. But he's out there telling people, and it's his posts, the reason why you have small biceps is this. The reason why you have small lats is this. The reason why, hold on a minute, bro. You got some of the shittiest biceps I've ever seen on an influencer. So what do you, but hold on. He's not an influencer. I forgot. And he's not an entrepreneur. I forgot. He's a Christian. I forgot. And he's a provider. Personally, listen, I worked with this guy for 2.5 years. He's a piece of crap. Okay. And that's the honest to God truth. So maybe I'm a little biased.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, a lot of these people too, these influencers say, oh, I'm natural. Then it comes out like the Liver King. He was saying he was natural. Obviously, he took juice and he had a lot of juice in his system. We got a lot of people like that always are phony, which brings us to our other story, which is The Rock. Very famous The Rock. It's apparent, you know, The Rock has said that he tried it back in the day. He tried steroids back when he was 18 or 19, and they didn't know what they were doing. Well, obviously today he knows what he's doing because he obviously looks great. But, you know, at our age, you know, he's about the same age, maybe a little bit, maybe a year or two older than us. He looks great. He looks phenomenal. And that only happens with obviously TRT or whatever he's taking. What do you think about that with The Rock?
Well, I read the entire piece that he did. And what he's claiming is he tried steroids at 18, 19, didn't know what they were doing, him and his friends, and he never did it again. The rest of his life has been dedicated to constant, steady training, good diet, consistency, hard work, blah, blah, blah. Now, again, he was our, you know, childhood hero, but we've heard this before, and we've heard it from say your prayers, take your vitamins. You know, we heard it from Hulk Hogan, and that was the biggest lie going, okay? Now The Rock is sitting there saying through hard work. Let me tell you something. For him to say, no, he's not using anything, this and that, since 18, 19 years old, remember something. When he left the WWE, let's go back. When he was in college, a lot of people might not realize this. He was Warren Sapp's backup at defensive tackle at the University of Miami. A lot of people don't realize that. He wasn't a starter for the University of Miami. He was their backup. He was the backup to Warren Sapp, okay? When he got out of college, he didn't, you know, he couldn't get into the pros. He went up to Canadian football. There's the whole story, okay? Then he got into the WWE. And if you remember something, he went through that period in the WWE where he was always in a black 3/4 sleeve shirt and a pair of pants. Do you remember that period when he wrestled like that all the time? And the reason why is because he had really, really bad, and this is the truth, he had really, really bad gyno. And then he had gyno surgery. And he didn't want that being seen on TV and everything. So he wore that until he was completely healed from the surgery. And then he started going shirtless again and all that. Okay. Now, when he left the WWE, do you remember the period when he lost all that weight and he almost looked like Mark Anthony? Okay. He drew his hair out long. Okay?
Yeah, for the movies, I think he said he was doing it for.
What was that?
I think for the movies, he was doing it for the movies, he said, right?
He was doing it for the movies. Exactly. When he got into Hollywood. And he lost all this size. You don't, as an adult, decide to lose all this size And then all of a sudden, just because, oh, I started working out with weights again, I put all this aside, not as an adult. You can grow like that young as a kid, okay? But as an adult, if you're going to lose all that muscle, you're going to put that muscle back on unless you do the proper gear that's necessary for that, okay? So with all due honesty, no, that's bullshit. And as he's gotten bigger as time went on, every time he comes back to the WWE, he's bigger and bigger and bigger. That doesn't happen as you get older. It just doesn't. So
100%.
The Rock's full of shit. And do you remember just recently all that size The Rock lost? Okay, when he had the health scare. Okay, he had a health scare recently. He lost all that size. Now all of a sudden you look at The Rock again, he's big again. He admitted, or I should say his daughter admitted, he had to get off everything. He completely got off everything, cleaned out completely when he got the health scare. So why go and bullshit people like this? People would appreciate it a lot more if you were just honest. You know, I mean, I don't know. That makes no sense to me. It just
people. If people will think you're a cheater and think all that kind of stuff if you admit that you're taking that stuff. That's the problem. You know, but you know what? Arnold was doing it back in the day. Arnold was doing it. You know, and Arnold was doing it, and you know, all these people do it. Everyone does it. All the movie actors.
Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, all these guys. It's not. You know what? If people are going to think you're a cheater, whatever. You don't want to know something? Then I guarantee you something. Those same people out there that are casting rocks, saying you're a cheater, are the same people using GLP-1s. But that's fine. That's not cheating.
Yep. Or they drink alcohol every night until they get drunk. Whatever.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So it's, you know what? Do whatever you want. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. But you know what? The cheating comment, that's the lazy person's out. The lazy person's out is, oh, well, if I did that, I could look like that too. No, you couldn't, you fat piece of crap.
Yep, 100%. You mentioned The Rock with the gyno, and we actually had a question that came in from something that I actually mentioned. Victor T said, Garrett, I started working out and I use steroids. I notice I'm getting gyno, plus my nipples are itchy. Why is this happening? Am I taking too much? I'm 22 years old. Thanks. So is he taking too much?
Well, your nipples are itchy. Anyway, it doesn't always necessarily mean he's taking too much. His estrogen to testosterone is off kilter. That's what that means. The best thing he can go do is go get his blood work done, because understand something. Some people are more sensitive to testosterone than other people are. I have never in my life taken an anti-estrogen. Okay. Ever. There's a lot of people that have to take a Nova and anastrozole and Arimidex and all that stuff. Okay. I've never taken it in my life. I've never needed an anti-estrogen ever. There's other people that I know that literally will take 2 shots of 200 milligrams. So they'll take it 2 weeks in a row. The next thing you know, they're flaring up. So each individual person, that's not always a sign of taking too much. It's how his body is utilizing it. So it could mean his body is converting it to estrogen very fast. The best thing for him to do, get his free testosterone, his total testosterone, his estrogen, his estradiol, all that tested. Get it all tested. Know where you're at, because I guarantee your blood work's going to be out of whack. Okay, your hormonal blood work's going to be out of whack. But that doesn't always mean, though, that it's, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just cut testosterone back. It doesn't always mean that, because I've seen people on low doses of testosterone have that problem. So
and the only way to get rid of it is through surgery. Is that correct?
Not always the case. There's that myth out there that once you have it, it's permanent. Not true. I know people that I've put on Novadex and that it's reversed as long as it's not really bad. If you have those golf balls in there, you're screwed. Okay. But it's not that bad. It can be reversed through the proper protocol. But once it gets bad, like The Rock had it bad, if you remember, he had to have the surgery.
He had the surgery.
Lou Ferrigno had the surgery back in the day also, and he was open about it. He talked about it. Yeah. Lou Ferrigno, way back in the day, he was open and he talked about it. You know, he came out and he was honest about it. You know, so which I appreciate. I'd rather somebody do that.
Yeah, 100%. I know The Rock had the surgery, and I know John Cena called him out about it on the air. Didn't he?
Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
He wasn't too happy about it too, The Rock.
Oh, he was pissed. He was pissed because he tried to hide that from the public.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he was pissed. Cena called him out about a couple things. Remember the notes on the wrist?
Yeah, the notes on the wrist.
The promo?
Yep, the promo.
And he was reading the promo off the wrist, and Cena, and when it's ironic because Cena was also ragging on him for leaving the WWE and going to Hollywood, and that's exactly what Cena did.
Cena did, of course.
So it's kind of like, wait a minute, you were ragging on this guy for doing this, and you turned around and you did the same thing. So whatever,
Yep.
but the guy, it's one of those things. To be honest, it doesn't always mean your testosterone's too high. It can mean your estrogen's too high, and it doesn't have to mean that you're using a lot. You know what? He's 21 years old. 200 milligrams. I'm not saying he's using that. He could be using 1,000. Who knows? But 200 milligrams at 21 years old might be too much for him.
Yeah,
now he's using 800, 1,000. Oh man, at 21 years old, yeah, he's using a lot. And he's probably doing it not smart. I'm gonna take a guess on that.
Yeah. We talked about COVID real quick, and you sent me this little thing about what people say. He says, and I want to read it. It says, we really went from I don't trust the COVID vaccine to injecting mysterious peptides we bought out of a cooler from the tamale lady. Now, that's a kind of a stupid statement, but Garrett, maybe you can explain.
I guarantee a libtard wrote that. I'll guarantee it. Okay, because they want to. Oh, you don't trust the COVID vax, but you trust peptides. Let me explain something, and I want to explain that real quick. How long has the COVID vaccine been around for?
Not long.
They developed it within 1 year. Okay, within 1 year. How long have these peptides been around for? Well, I don't know. Like I said, back with Lakewood Ranch Rejuvenation, I was having them prescribed to people in 2012 and 13. Just to give you an idea. Peptides have been around for a very long time. So to all these assholes out there, peptides are dangerous. Peptides are... No, they're not. They've been around for a long time. Understand something. They have never been allowed to be sold, used, etc. because the government cannot find a way to patent them. Why do you think Retatride, Wegovy, all this stuff is being sold at such a high rate? They're peptides also, but they're being sold at this high rate because the government is able to patent those. The government can't patent things that are naturally occurring in your body. They can't patent BPC 157, NAD, GHKCU. They can't patent things that naturally occur in your body. So they can't make any money off of it. So they're sitting there going, well, we'll just make them illegal then. We'll let people not be able to use them. Because they can't make money on them. So for anybody out there, out of a cooler from the tamale later, it shows their ignorance, okay? It shows their ignorance. I'll give you an example. The other day, a client of mine, she happened to say something to me, and she said, oh, did you look up that thing that I texted you the other day? And I just looked and I smiled and I said, oh, have you watched any of the podcasts yet? Because I know, they haven't. And she goes, oh, what? I'm on the illegal drugs? And I go, well, that shows your ignorance right there. I said, peptides aren't illegal drugs. I said, if you knew what they were, they're naturally occurring in your body, but I wouldn't expect you to understand that. Whatever. And listen, most of my clients, they know me well enough. I speak how it is. I offend half my clients, but they've been with me long enough and they get results that they stay with me even though I offend them. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think people have an issue with that. Well, they look at it this way. They say, oh, the government is giving me a vaccine, but I got to buy this peptide from Joe Schmo down the block. I'd rather trust the government giving me because I know they're going to do right by me. That's what the people are saying. I'd rather trust the government because I know they're getting it and they're not going to give us anything to hurt us.
Anybody that trusts the government, they should have sucker written on their head.
Yep.
Okay. If you trust the government, I wouldn't trust the government with anything. And again, this isn't about political party. I don't care who's in office. Okay. I don't care who the hell is in office. You know, it's really funny. Man, I wish I sent this to you. So with what's going on with the Mets, the front runner right now for their manager is going to be Carlos Beltran. Okay. So a picture is circulating online. And now listen, I've personally never forgiven Carlos Beltran for 2006. If you remember Game 7 NLCS, Cardinals, he struck out. Looking, the bat was on his shoulder. Well, that photo is circulating. And if you look in the background of that photo, right there in the front row, standing up, is Donald Trump. Two people over from him in his party is Hillary Clinton. And standing right behind them is Dr. Phil.
Okay.
Now, for anybody out there, we've been led to believe how Hillary and Trump and they hate each other and all this. And I tell people this, everyone is being worked. Behind the scenes, all these politicians are laughing at everybody as they get rich, okay? Mm-hmm. They get rich. And it's almost, you think about something. The WWE puts on these fake feuds and people believe them. And then behind the scenes, they could be really friends. It's the same thing with the politicians. Mm-hmm. We're led to believe these blood feuds are happening between these politicians. It's all bullshit. And there's in that photo, Trump and Hillary. And I know people sit there and go, well, you got to remember, Hillary from New York, Trump from New York, they used to have business together that they had to. Hold on a minute. 10 years later, they were at each other's throats because it was an act. Mm-hmm. They realized they could still make money with one another. Mm-hmm. So I tell everybody, look at that picture. And if you trust the government for anything, you're nuts. Like all these socialists out there that want to rely on the government for healthcare and for this and for that. Yep. Again, you're going to trust the government? Are you nuts? Mm-hmm. Are you really nuts? Look at recently, you guys just had it. You guys had that massive heat wave for, 5 days or something. Mm-hmm. And I heard that Mamdani up there was telling people, turn your AC units up to 79 degrees. Blah, blah, blah. What? Mm-hmm. We need to all be in this together. No, how about this? You turn your AC to where you're comfortable because you're the one paying the bill.
100%. 100%.
So there's a perfect example right there. But you know what? There are people out there that are going to go, just like with the masks, just like the COVID vax. We're in this together. I will turn my AC to what they tell me to because we're in this together. Mm-hmm. We are not in this together. We are not. It's them, the politicians, Congress, the government, and then it's the people. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they don't give two shits less about the people. They never did. They never will.
Nope. That's fact. Nope. 100%. And let's just put a facts out there. There has been no proof that peptides have ever hurt or killed anybody.
Exactly.
None. There's no proof. There's no facts. No one has ever died from peptides.
Not one case. Not one. There is not one reported case out there of somebody taking GLOW, GHKCU, BPC157, TB500, NAD500, any of this. And one reported health concern. And you want to know why? Because all those things that I just named, all of them are naturally occurring in your body. Now, there are reported health concerns with semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide, because those aren't naturally occurring in your body. Mm-hmm. So there are reported health concerns with that. But everything I just named right there, there has not been one reported issue, not one reported health concern. And they would love to. I mean, could you imagine somebody does a wellness check on a loved one? The police have to enter their place and the loved one is dead on the floor. And on their counter is a bottle of GLOW, a bottle of NAD. Well, guess what? I guarantee you every media is going to write that up. Peptides kill the person. Okay?
Yep. 100%.
Now, they're not going to know what they died from. They're not going to, but that's what they're. Now, meanwhile, if you turn the person over, they might have a bullet hole underneath them because they shot themselves. Mm-hmm. But we'll say it's peptides that killed them. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened yet. But the point is they're waiting for that to happen. Okay, there has not been one instance of a peptide hurting somebody. And you want to know something? There's not going to be an issue because these things are naturally occurring in your body. Things that naturally occur in your body aren't going to hurt you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be naturally occurring in your body.
Yep, 100%. I'm going to tell you a story too. I know someone who died in his apartment. The cops went there to investigate, and they found steroids. Okay, so they saw the steroids and like, oh, okay, he must have been the steroids, must have killed him. Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, they did look further and saw he had 4 bottles of Jack Daniels hanging there, all empty. He didn't have no steroids in his system, but only he overdosed on alcohol. Whatever he did, he drank himself to death. And no one says anything about alcohol. And alcohol is the number 1 killer of people in this world too. You know that. But they went right to the steroids, because they saw the needle and they saw the steroids. So they said, oh, it's got to be steroids.
Great public example of that everybody will know. Chris Benoit. So Chris Benoit, as everybody knows, for those that don't know, was accused of murdering his wife and young son, and then committing suicide. Okay, and there's some interesting facts on that case, anyway. But when the police enter the home and everything, they find growth hormone, steroids, this, that. Now, Chris Benoit also had a pain pill addiction problem. Chris Benoit also had an alcohol problem. Chris Benoit also, after the studies were done, had severe advanced CTE, so much so they said his brain was that of an 84-year-old, okay? An 84-year-old at his age, however old he was at the time, in his 30s, somewhere late 30s, maybe early 40s. But none of that was written about. All that was written about was steroids made him do it. Growth hormone made him do it. That's all they wanted to fantasize about, and they didn't want to talk about anything else. And that was proved not to be the case. Kevin Nash went on and he did a Fox News interview, and he made them look stupid, okay, when they asked him that question, okay? They want to write about what they want to write about. Now, just on a side note on this, nobody also thinks it's very, very weird that when the police showed up to Chris Benoit's house, that there were 2 dogs in the pen in the yard, that police couldn't enter the house right away. They would either had to put the dogs down right then and there, or they would have had to get dog, catchers out there, animal control, and catch the dogs because they were large dogs. But a woman shows up who was supposedly the housekeeper, and she handled the dogs. And the police, she said, I can get the dogs and I can put them in the house. The police let her not only get the dogs, but enter the house herself. She then came running out screaming, they're dead, they're dead, they're dead. What crime scene do you know of that you allow somebody else to enter the house? Wouldn't it have been, get the dogs. I don't care if you bring them to your car, whatever you do. You control the dogs. We need to get in the house first. The other thing a lot of people don't know about is this. 10 hours before Chris Benoit was ever discovered, on Wikipedia, you know about this?
No, I heard. I think they said he was dead.
On Wikipedia, it's stated Chris Benoit, the day of his death, this and that, murdered his wife and small child and then committed suicide. 10 hours before anybody ever discovered their bodies.
Wow.
How the hell does that happen? Now, a lot of people also don't know this, but leading up to his death, multiple people, his wife's sister, other family members, wrestlers, Chavo Guerrero, who was really close with him, all stated Chris Benoit was extremely paranoid, always thought somebody was following him. He would take different routes to the gym, different routes to the airport, different routes home. He would be switching cars at all times. He was always looking over his shoulder as he was driving. He was taking different turns. He was pulling in parking lots, waiting out because he thought cars were behind him following him. What's that about? I'm just saying.
You don't know. That's interesting.
There's a lot more there, and I've said for a long time, they wrapped this case up too quick. Just like this. Chris Benoit killed his wife, killed his son, hung himself. That's it. All done. It's open and shut case. I don't know about that. You know,
No,
I just don't know. You know.
Yeah, but they want to blame steroids for that, which clearly, I mean, you know, he took steroids, but he had other issues, major issues.
Oh yeah.
You know, besides all the steroids. You know.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, as we talk about steroids, let's bring up one of the steroids that's very popular these days is Sustanon 250, what they say. Very popular steroid. A lot of people take it. I've taken it before. Always gave me good gains. Tell me about Sustanon. What does it do? The benefits, side effects? Well, tell me about it.
Let me ask you real quick. You said you took it before. Did you like it personally?
I did like it. And then I'm going back. I'm going back in the early days of our time, back in the day when I took it.
Like I'm going back, like 25 years, maybe longer.
I took it back then.
But I used it once, maybe twice. Was never a fan of it. That's why I am asking you if you liked it. I never liked it personally.
It was Oregon, and we used to snap them. Remember the
Organon? Yep.
The Organon, and we used to snap them, take it. And that's the ones I used to take. I thought it worked well. I put on size. It did retain a lot of water, but I thought it gave me strength. What do you know about it that you like? Well, don't know.
Okay, so a lot of people have misconceptions about Sustanon. It's 4 testosterons in one.
Yes,
okay?
4.
But a lot of people, for some reason, think those 4 testosterones are cypionate, enaphate, propionate. They think it's all the popular testosterones mixed into one, and it's not. Okay, so what I want to do is explain to people first. Here's the 4 testosterones that it actually is. The first one is testosterone propionate, which I said a few weeks back is a very fast-acting ester. Okay, I actually recommend for women for testosterone replacement. Okay, and remember, it's Sustanon 250, so the total makeup is 250 milligrams per ml. So it's testosterone propionate, only 30 milligrams of that. So that leaves us with 220 milligrams left over. Okay, 30 milligrams of testosterone propionate. The next one is testosterone phenylpropionate. Okay, phenylpropionate, 60 milligrams of that. Okay, that's a medium acting. So where propionate is a very fast acting testosterone, phenylpropionate is a medium acting testosterone. That's 60 milligrams of that. So now we're up to 90 milligrams. Okay. The next one is testosterone isopropionate. Okay, where that is a medium to very slow acting testosterone. Okay, 60 milligrams of that. Okay, and then we have the highest dosing of the entire thing, which is testosterone decanate. Okay, not to be confused with deca. Okay, it's just the ester of the testosterone decanate, 100 milligrams, and that's a very long acting ester. Now, a lot of people think this is just Sustanon is an underground steroid for gains and this and that. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Sustanon is the #1 testosterone replacement used by doctors in Europe. It's not even legal here in the US, though.
Really? That's interesting.
And a lot of people don't realize this because they just think it's Sustanon. Oh, it's a stronger. No, it is legal. Okay, if you look at it, England, all of Europe, they use the #1 they use for testosterone replacement is Sustanon. In the US, enaphate and cypionate are used as testosterone replacement. And once again, now, if you think about something, Sustanon is legal in Europe. It's not legal here in the US. Why? Because of the money they can make off the cypionate and the enaphate. They have contracts. They can make much more money off that. But the truth of the matter is, it is used for testosterone replacements. For anybody out there that just thinks it's this super powerful drug, it has actually clinical usages, but it's not just in the United States. It's in Europe. But then again, a lot of things are used in Europe that aren't allowed here. So, you look at all the ingredients in foods and everything. They put pure shit in foods here in the United States. In Europe, their food's clean. So,
100%.
You look at that. Now, me personally, I was never a fan of. And here you go. The United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia is where it's legal as testosterone replacement. They also use Sustanon over in Europe, a lot for the transgender. You know, the when they switch up like transformation, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. They use that one for that because it has multiple different esters in there and this and that, and they find that that works best rather than administering like here in the United States, which, you know, when they go over the progression, whatever the hell you call it, they use cypionate or an athate here in the United States once again. But actually, for the trans, Sustanon is actually the best one to use if you're going from a chick to a dude. You know what I mean? So that it's actually the best one to use, and a lot of people don't realize that. Personally, I've never been a fan of it. I found it was a little bit too strong for my liking. I respond, like I said before, I respond to testosterone quick. Like I use baby dosages. I've said it before. I use such baby dosages at micro dosing levels daily, real small dosages. That always, to me, I retained water with it like that when I used it. Like I said, I used it twice. It would bloat me. I would retain water with it. I didn't like the water retention. You know?
Yeah, that's one of the issues I had. It was water retention. No. Any other side effects that you know of that people complain of, or side effects with that?
No, because it's the same thing as regular testosterone. Again, if you use anything in too high of a dosage, it's going to be no good for you. You're going to have side effects. But used at the dosage of, let's say, 250 milligrams, which is 1 ml a week, okay? It's the same side effects as cypionate or an athate. And, you know, there's people out there that take cypionate and an athate that get water retention also. I just personally, I don't. With Sustanon, I did. You know, and I think it was, with me, it was the esters. Personally, I think propionate, personally, it's too fast acting for me. And I think that's why I retain water. That's my guess, you know.
Okay. Would you pick that over cypionate, or, well, I mean, if you had a client, would you say, hey, I would rather give them cypionate instead of Sustanon?
Oh, cypionate or an athate all day long over Sustanon. I never recommend Sustanon to anybody. I couldn't tell you anybody that the last time I've recommended Sustanon to somebody was 15 years ago, you know, and that was for a specific thing. Everybody is cypionate and athate, you know, it's all day long. I know
some people get it confused with suspension, which I guess we'll talk about another time. But suspension is and I took in suspension once or twice. I could tell you that I did get it after I took a shot of it. It hurt, believe it or not. The shot would always be maybe it was, I don't know, maybe at that time it was bad. I took it years ago, but it always hurt the shot going in. I don't know why.
Well, the reason why is it's water-based.
Well, that's probably okay. That's one of them.
That's why. No, a lot of people don't. Suspension is water-based. All the other testosterons are oil-based. So that's why. I've never used suspension in my life. Never touched it. But yeah, that's I've heard, you know, that's a rare one that I don't hear people talk about ever. Suspension. That seems like an old school. When
mixing the stuff, this, you know, the gear together and getting the formula, a lot of people like to use MCT oil, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil. Which oil do you think is the best? You know, I
know people that are allergic to certain oils.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So some people, and this is why there's different oils, and that's I like that question, but a lot of people don't realize why there's different oils. Some people will take MCT oil and break out horribly. They can only use grapeseed oil. Okay. Other people will take MCT oil and get horrible knots, and it feels like rocks underneath their skin. They say they get reactions to it. Some people get breakouts, hives almost, with grapeseed oil. Then you have the cottonseed oil, which some people like, but they claim that's very painful. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I've used stuff that's been mixed in MCT oil, in grapeseed oil, and cottonseed oil, and my body cannot tell the difference to any of them. I'm fluid with any of them. I could use any, and there's literally no difference with me, none whatsoever. I don't have any type of pain, reaction, nothing. So again, it's the individual person on that. and individual what you're going to react to. I've used stuff mixed with all three of them, before separately, and to me, nothing. You can't even tell the difference. I wouldn't even know. I hear all these people. I can't have MCT. I can only have grapeseed. I can always have, and actually for people, well, they'll say to me sometimes, hey, that Cypionate you're going to get me, it's mixed with, it's in grapeseed oil, right? It's not an MCT oil. And I'm like, that can be, arranged if that's what you specifically need, but why? Oh, well, I read about it online. Okay, so you're not going off of personal knowledge. Which if you want to go off personal knowledge, I can tell you, there's really not much of a difference unless you have a specific allergy to one of these things. But I've never seen any difference in it. So I know all the cool kids now, the term is gender fluid. So I guess I'm testosterone fluid.
And people don't realize, you get the raw powder. There needs to be a delivery system to get it into your body. And that's why we use MCT oil, cottonseed oil and stuff to get it into your system. People sometimes don't realize that.
That's another thing people don't realize. It starts out in a powder form, just like these peptides. It starts out as a powder. Then it has to be concentrated and mixed with an oil, and then it has to be the buffer, which is MCT oil or grapeseed oil, and a lot of people don't realize that they think testosterone just comes as a liquid starting out, and that's not how it is. I shouldn't even say that. Forget about even that. Everything, DECA, they all start out as powders. Everything starts out as a powder.
Correct.
Your pills, your tablets, they start out as powder. It has to be pressed into a pill or a capsule, made into a capsule. So everything starts out as a powder. And again, I hate to burst people's bubbles out there. I really, really do. But 90% of the powders come from China.
We've talked about that. They all come from China, Another great question to talk about, I know a couple of people this happened to, is when you get the testosterone, wherever it is, every once in a while, especially maybe up here, because we know it's hot, but then we get cold air, we get winters. Once in a while, if it's cold, sometimes it'll crystallize inside the bottle.
Crashes.
What?
Crashes.
It'll crystal. Yes. And I tell people
the crystallize means the part of the compound, it crashed. That's what that means. Okay. And what I tell people is this: if your testosterone, for example, ever crashes, and what you crystallizes, and it looks like there's little crystals inside there, and it means all that means is the properties crashed. There's a real simple fix to this. Okay. Don't believe what you read on the internet, where I've seen some people go, "Oh, just put it in the microwave." No, that will explode. Okay. Don't put it in the microwave. No. It's real simple. All you have to do is heat up on the stove with a little pot, a little bit of water. Okay, not a lot of water, but that much water. Then you just basically take the testosterone. Now hold it, okay? You could take it with a pair of tongs or this and that. Use it with your fingers. Listen, I use it with my fingers. When I've done it before, I don't even feel anything, okay? Other people go, "Oh my God, I burnt my fingers." Well, if you burnt your fingers from that, maybe you're too stupid to even use it, but whatever. All you got to do is warm it up, and guess what? It uncrystallizes. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all there is to it. So it doesn't, I heard some people, "Oh my God, it's bad. I threw it away." You didn't have to throw it away.
No.
And all it means is it crashed. It doesn't mean anything else. You can heat that right back up. That's how they make it in the first place.
You're exactly right. That's how they make it. They heat it up. But I've had that happen to me prior, but I know you just got to heat it up a little bit, run under hot water for, whatever it is, maybe a little while, and it'll be fine. It's fine.
And that's the thing, and that's another thing you brought up about running it under hot water. Okay. I tell anybody that has pain when they get injections. Okay. So let's say they complain about, "Oh man, it hurts every time I inject." Okay. Draw your levels of testosterone. Draw your testosterone out. Okay. Tap the needle, and then run the body of the syringe with the liquid inside it under hot water for about a minute. Then you inject that. It's going to go literally like a knife through butter. No pain.
No pain.
It'll be so smooth, it's not even funny. Okay, now, again, make sure you cap the needle. You don't want the water running on an exposed needle. Put it on the body of the syringe. Okay, just run it under hot water. You're going to hold it. and you'll be fine. So that's another little trick for people out there, you know.
Yeah, and don't make it boiling hot. Make it lukewarm. No, you don't want to inject boiling hot water into your body. You know, it's just not. But you know, we're not stupid people out there.
Yeah, all you're doing is running the outside of it. You're warming it up. That's
warming
what
it
you're
up.
doing. You're just warming it up. That's all you're doing. People think, you know, it's the same thing with the testosterone when it crashes. You're just warming it up. That's all you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how it's made in the first place. So there's no reason to throw anything out or panic or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Now, if you, I will tell anybody this, Tren, if you ever get Tren and it turns green, throw that shit away.
Trend turns green. Trend turns green. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Trend. If you have Tren that's old Tren, or it's been around for a while, or it's been uncapped for a while, and it's just sitting out, it will turn green. And if your Tren turns green, don't heat it up. Don't try to just get rid of that. Get rid of that, because that's really bad. I
think I've seen that before too.
Yeah, no, you can inject Tren if it's gold, if it's dark yellow like pea, if it's colored, that's all fine. You don't want to inject if it's green. That means it's bad. So you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we have a few minutes left. We can wrap up on if you want to talk about the peptide, Epithalon. That's what it's called.
Okay. All right. Let me just punch this up real quick because I want to. I'm going to say a couple things that I don't want to talk over people's heads, but there's going to be words that I'm just going to have to. Okay. So, Epithalon. Okay.
Epithalon.
Or some places you see it Epithalon. Okay. So it can be spelt either way. Okay. It's a synthetic tetrapeptide. Okay. It's modeled on a pineal gland extract. So basically, it's being researched for longevity and is best known for a proposed ability to stimulate telomerase. Okay. And this is why I say I'm going to be using terms that are a little, you know, that's an enzyme that protects and lengthens telomerase. Okay. And what that is basically, to break it down, it supports the natural production of melatonin, frequently resulting in improved sleep quality and normalized circadian rhythms. Okay. By interacting the protective caps at the ends of chromosomes, Epithalon stimulates telomerase production. Telomerase typically shorten as cells divide, basically as you age. So what this does is is anti-aging. It generates your cells. It gives your cells the ability to then once again be working like when you were younger. Okay. Also, it's antioxidant and neuroprotective. So it helps reduce oxidative damage, supports your immune system function, and stabilizes your endocrine markers. Okay. Cellular lifespan. Extensive cellular research and animal studies suggest Epithalon delays age-related cellular decline. So as we all know, as you get older, your cells will start to decline. That leads to all kinds of bad things happening with your body: Alzheimer's, dementia, your skin, your this, your that, everything. You just, you know, as you age. The whole key with all this is trying to prevent all that from happening. Now, one of the things about that is with this Epithalon, this is not something that has to be done on a daily basis, this is 4 shots. And then you don't do it again for like 6 weeks.
Really?
So that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
So this isn't something, this is to reset the cells. So this isn't something that's done on a regular basis or anything like that. Okay? Obviously, there's still being studies done on it. But that's the whole key. You know, you look out there right now and, you know, doctors are letting people just decline and age. And the reason why is if you can't use the medicines that they want to prescribe you, they don't want to help you. They really don't.
No,
and
they don't.
Instead of letting people decline, I've said it time and time again, people should look into peptides. Speaking of, that woman that asked the question last week about the peptides, remember, that was going to contact me? She never contacted me. So if you listen to the show, contact me.
Yeah, I'll have her contact you. I think her name was Diane, right? Diane. I think Diane was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I just thought of that. I never heard from her, and I remembered she was going to contact me after 4th of July.
Okay, so Diane, if you're listening, contact
Diane,
them.
if you're listening, hit me up.
Okay. We should have you hip you up. All right, cool. Before we wrap up, or I guess we only got a couple more minutes left. Just want to touch base on the Mets there. They're going to trade Lindor or what?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the fan base would add. Mike Francesa said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Francesa said that, and I know where that came from. And Francesa said it. I don't think they traded Lindor because I think the fan base would revolt. I'm going to be honest with you right now. It's clear this team is catering to Juan Soto. This team is basically they're bending over backwards to whatever Juan Soto wants. Now, because now listen, Lindor was part of the problem. Him and his liberal wife in Alonso, Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil being jettisoned out of here. But at the same time, listen, in 2024, which was just 2 years ago, with that deep playoff run, Francisco Lindor was the MVP of the Mets. You cannot trade a guy like that away. Now, they do have pieces right now. I mean, look at Luke Weaver, the former Yankee. The guy hasn't given up a run since April 30th. He's been phenomenal. That's a great trade piece. Trade him away to a contending team. Get pieces for that. Trade away AJ Minter. Trade away one of your catchers. They have pieces to trade away. I wouldn't trade away Lindor. I really wouldn't. Okay. And if you do, the message is clear. What Juan Soto wants, Juan Soto will get. And I think that's a very, very bad precedent to set. Okay. What I do like is, and I will say this, the baby Mets. Okay. AJ Ewing out in center field. Carson Benj out in right field. I like the baby Mets. Okay. AJ Ewing reminds me of Lenny Dykstra. He's crashing into walls. He's hitting leadoff homers. He's bringing an energy. He's white. He's bringing an energy that just doesn't, it doesn't exist anymore. It seems like in, modern day baseball. So I do like the baby Mets that they're putting out on the field. But they need a lot more than that. I mean, this team is a mess. Last night, they're up 9-4 in the fourth inning. The final score is 16-11. They lose. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, like I said, the Mets, you need a leadership, and now you don't need to like each other on the teammates. There's plenty of teammates who don't like each other, but they play together and they play well. You think about, other teams in football who hated each other on teams and they didn't like each other, but they played well and won. I don't think Lindor and Soto are on the same page at all. It's obvious.
No.
And they don't like each other. I don't know the whole story, but they're not learning to play with each other. Now Soto seems to say, I don't want to play with him. And, like you said, Soto wants, Soto gets. I don't know.
But that's part of the problem. If Soto continues to do this and says, I don't want to play with him. So what's going to stop you from every single time you get a player that Juan Soto doesn't like for him to turn around and go, I don't want to play with him either. You can't keep on, letting that happen. At some point, you have to put your foot down and go, he's part of our team. Learn to accept it. And Soto's comment last week in the media when he was asked about this was one of the strangest comments I've ever heard in my life. He turned around and he said about the relationship between him and Lindor. Well, you don't kiss a girl the first time you meet her, do you? Why? That was one of the strangest comments I've ever heard a baseball player, especially a Latin baseball player. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Say, because as well as I do. I mean, look at that time Roger and Roberto Alomar got into a fight over the baseball card about, you know what I mean? They're very prideful. They're very, Roberto Alomar one time got into that brawl in the field because somebody called him gay, if you don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're very, very prideful. For him to make that comparison, kissing a girl, I was very surprised. And I was surprised Lindor didn't say more about it. And I'm surprised Soto would even say that because that's like an unwritten rule there with the Latin baseball players. So I just sat there and I went, this is bizarre to me. This is just so bizarre to me.
Now Soto's a mama's boy, apparently, you know that. And apparently they said that story's been coming up that his mother would walk into the Yankee clubhouse unannounced and Joe, they would be like, hey, you can't come back here. And Juan Soto, that was one of the things. And now, so apparently Soto has a lot of pull that his mother's got to get a lot of things. And I'm telling you, down the road, that's not going to work. I just don't see that flying. I just don't think it's good.
Oh no, I agree with you. I mean, I think that is part of the reason why he signed with the Mets. They made him promises.
Yeah.
They made him promises where he said, my mom wasn't welcome in the Yankee clubhouse. Don't worry, your mom will be welcome here. She can do whatever she wants here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wouldn't let me have use of the private luxury box at Yankee Stadium. Don't worry, we'll give your whole family a luxury box here for every game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They gave him anything he wanted to sign with them because they thought at the time Juan Soto was the missing piece to a world championship.
Mm-hmm.
And since Juan Soto has been a Met, this team missed the playoffs last year. And this year is, I believe, there's one or two teams that are worse than them in the entire league record-wise.
Yeah.
So what does that say? You know, and I don't want to hear, oh, well, we had injury. Every team has injuries, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Every team has injuries. I don't want to hear it not to be this awful. Yep. And they are. They're awful. They're unwatchable. They're literally unwatchable at this point because they're up 9-4 in the fourth inning and they blow. I mean, I watched these the other day. They were up, how about this one? They didn't lose this game, but on Saturday, they were up 10-3 going to the bottom of the ninth against the Braves.
And they won 10-9.
The final score of that game was 10-9. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, oh my God.
That game. And what's really funny about that is that was Saturday. And on Sunday, I talked to my mom, and she goes, oh, you know, I was flipping through the channels last night, and the Mets were on, and I stayed on the game. And, oh, you said they were so bad and everything. They look great. They were up like 10-3, and I changed the channel. I said, you know what the final score was? 10-9. And she goes, oh.
Yeah. You know, I met Juan Soto. I told you that, right? Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Because he bought his sister or something a house over here in Jersey. And he had just pulled up. I just saw this big white Lamborghini pull up. And I was like, and I was looking in the car and kind of looking at it. And it had tinted windows. And he was getting like laundry or something or whatever. And he was in the car. And he pulled out and he was, hey, what's up, man? And I was just talking to him. And he got a quick picture. But he was really nice or whatever. But he was getting his laundry and everything. But he said, I guess his sister, he bought someone a house here. So I was like, okay, cool.
I remember you sending me the picture. Yeah. I remember you sending me the picture. And, you know, he could be a nice guy and all, but I think because of his stardom, he's been catered to.
How old is he? 24, 25?
No,
Soto?
he's
Let me see.
I think he's 26 now, isn't he? I think he's 26. Hold on.
27. He's 27.
27. Okay.
27. So he's 27.
This is his second year into a 15-year contract. So he's got 13 years left on this contract. So he'll be 40 by the time this. Listen, he's not going to finish his career with the Mets. This is going to be the second coming of Bobby Bonilla. The Mets will be paying Juan Soto's contract off until Juan Soto. I mean, Bobby Bonilla just collected his check on July 1st. He lives down here. He lives in Bradenton. Okay? Literally 15 minutes away. Okay. And he still gets his, check every single year on July 1st until 2035. Come on, man.
You think Stearns got to go?
Yeah.
Stearns got to go. Okay.
Yeah, because you know what? If David Stearns was so great, how come the Brewers continue to win without him?
That's true.
Everybody's talking about the mistakes he made with the Mets. Let's talk about this. If he was so great, the Brewers have continued year in and year out without him to win. Okay. He came his first year with the Mets was the 2023 season. Okay. So 23, 24, 25 so far, 26. Okay. He had a 5-year deal. The Brewers every single year are in the playoffs without him. Now, if you want to say the Brewers, he built their farm system. Okay. But you know how many players they've traded off in the last few years, and they continue to get good players back. So I don't know if David Stern is so great because the Brewer system is continuing to thrive. Maybe Cohen got sold on a bill of goods.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's why I look at it because, if the Brewers went and all of a sudden David Stearns left the Brewers and the Brewers fell to pieces, and now all of a sudden they're a perennial last place team. Oh, okay, David Stearns was, he was the shit. I don't know. I think Stearns needs to go. I think I said this the other day to somebody. I know there's no way of them doing it because nobody would take this contract on. I wish the Mets could trade Soto. I think that's the answer. Because if you can get a team, I'm just going to throw out, let's use the Dodgers, okay? Because the Dodgers would be the only team out there to, yeah, sure, we'll pay him. If you could turn around with the Dodgers and say, listen, we want your top 3 prospects in your farm system, your top 3, whatever they are, if they're position players, if they're pitchers, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to look at your farm system. We're going to pick out these 3 players. And those are the 3 players we want. And we're going to send you Juan Soto in return. And in return, we're going to pay, I don't know, 20% of his contract. I don't know, whatever. Come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dodgers said, yes, I would do it in a heartbeat because I think this team needs to be completely rebuilt. And as long as Juan Soto is going to continue to be here, there's going to be a problem. And that's my opinion. And while Juan Soto is a great player. He's generational.
Absolutely great player. He's a great player.
Great player. But there's headaches involved.
Yep. So, one of my friends told me that said to me that he not only is he a great player, he told me that he said that Juan Soto was a great player, but he says he's probably got maybe a few more good years left. He goes, because he has that much money, and you can see it already on the field, he's very lazy.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, remember when he reported to the Mets, his first year with them, I used to call him Juan Boloto. Remember how fat he was? And he had to lose weight. So, I could see in a couple of years his play really dropping off, like, majorly. He's a great player, but there's a lot of headaches involved that I just don't like right now, I'd much rather see AJ Ewing, Carson Benj. You know what? Give me the baby Mets. Let's rebuild this team the right way. I mean, I know something? How about this? This is the best way to put it. The National League East, there's one team right now with a losing record, and that's the team that spent the most money in that division, and that's the Mets. Braves winning record, Phillies winning record, Marlins winning record, Washington Nationals winning record, and then you have the Mets. That's pathetic. That's just pathetic.
That is pathetic. 100%, man. All right, man. Well, another great week. Diane T, if you're watching, remember, Garrett, where can we reach out to get a hold of you?
Pope Training at Instagram, all one word. Pope, P-O-P-E, Training.
Pope Training. All right. All right, guys. Thank you. Like, subscribe. It's free. Enjoy us every week. Garrett, I will talk to you next week, my friend.
I will see you next week.
You got it, brother. All right. Talk to you later.
Started from nothing. Jersey streets, we owned it. Jay-Z pumping iron. Bodybuilder coding. Beans on the course.